You know, we've often said on this channel that technology changes, but principles remain the same. How about if we listen to Albert Einstein about some of his principles and see how they correlate to today's scenario? Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and we inspire. And previously on Project Eli, we were talking about how we want to use our brains for what they were intended. You don't want to use a hammer to screw in a screw, okay? What you want to do is use your brain in the correct method. And to sum up, and to quote Einstein summing it up, intelligence is not the ability to store information, but to know where to find it. So stop using your brain as a storage unit and know how to get to the information you need to get to. But in looking for a particular quote, there were like a zillion Einstein quotes, and they were so brilliant I decided, hey, this can't be a coincidence. This was meant for me to follow up. So let's go over some of Einstein's quotes and correlate them to today's present scenario. What a sad era when it is easier to smash an atom than a prejudice. Okay. I think you know what I'm talking about, where we have this scenario out there where one community, well, more than one community right now is somewhat oppressed, and we need to get together and make something happen in the right way. You know, this Black Lives Matter movement, we've given a name to it, but you know, it started with well, it didn't necessarily start with Dr. Martin Luther King, but he really got it jump started. The point is, it's time to lock arms and take care of smashing this prejudice. It has become appallingly obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. You know, I asked myself this question. This is kind of a personal feeling that I have, is that we're in a scenario right now where we could have stopped this virus by shutting things down, but you know, there were political aspirations, there were economical aspirations. You know, on the totem pole of what's most important, I kind of have to put life at the top of that list. And that's the way I feel, and obviously not everybody feels that way, but you know, technology perhaps has exceeded our humanity. At least once a day, allow yourself the freedom to think and dream for yourself. This is what we're talking about in terms of giving yourself some quiet thinking time every single day. Make yourself alone with your thoughts. Isolate yourself, and it allowed to do some planning and allow your imagination to run wild. That's the way you visualize new things. And also, that's the way you receive input from the infinite mind. One of the ways you receive input from the infinite mind, when you have some structured, relaxed thinking time. We are in the position of a little child entering a huge library, whose walls are covered to the ceiling with books in many different languages. The child knows that someone must have written those books. It does not know who or how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. The child notes a definite plan in the arrangement of the books, a mysterious order, which it does not comprehend, but only dimly suspects. Okay, there's a deep one. Here's the point. We as human beings have particular skills, but we must recognize that there is some sort of infinite intelligence that is working with us to help us to advance our cause from point A to point B to point C, and has done so since the beginning of time. It's important that we recognize that, but even more important is to not necessarily understand the why and because, but to understand the how. And the how is to single out your thoughts, get that vision out there, get that vibe out there. Your thoughts matter, so that our universal partner can act in concert with us and give us clues on how to move forward. Once again, these clues most frequently come to us in bits and pieces, most frequently come to us when we're in a relaxed state. So it's judicious for us to schedule some structured, relaxed thinking time so that we're in a position to be a receiver. So we need to be a transmitter with a very specific visual, and we need to be a receiver so that we are able to receive the input from the infinite partner. We act as though comfort and luxury were the chief requirements of life. All that we need to make us happy is something to be enthusiastic about. Most people go through life with the same old, same old, same old. They get on the treadmill of life, and as long as they're quote-unquote comfortable, then they're okay. But they're not excited about life. They're merely existing, and this is the difference between living and existing. Living means being excited about something, getting out there, pursuing it, and having a challenge that you want to overcome that benefits yourself, your family, mankind. Let's not set limits. It can benefit all of us. The point is, you've got to get out of that comfort zone and have something that you're excited about. It makes life worth living. The person who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The person who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been before. What we're talking about here is out-of-the-box thinking. If all you do is take the common thoughts about things and work with those, all you're going to have is the same old, same old. If you want to go further in life, if you want to excel in life, you have to expand your thinking. These are all thoughts from Albert Einstein from what, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, even longer than that. I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots. Let's see. People on their cell phones everywhere they go, and you don't see it that much anymore, at least I don't, because I'm not out and about, because I'm following the guidelines of social distancing. But, you know, in those areas where people are not doing that, you know, before you're in restaurants, you're in groups, everybody's on their phone, and there's a person sitting right next to them, yet they're not communicating with them. They're not interacting with them. What is that doing? That makes the communication device the master and not the tool. Think about it. I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me. That's Einstein talking about relaxed thinking time. And boy, was he ever an advocate of that. He would sometimes during the day when you have a particular problem, he would just lie down on the ground and start thinking. Or he would play the violin or go for long walks. He would schedule into his day that kind of time so that he could open up the lines of communication and receive it from the infinite partner. Only one who devotes himself to a cause with his whole strength and soul can be a true master. For this reason, mastery demands all of a person. Are we talking about singleness of purpose here? When you get distracted, you can't be the master. So find something that is your purpose, something that you desire, something that you have a burning desire for. And it doesn't just have to be one thing. You can have a number of different things. I mean, you have a spouse, you have kids, you have your workplace, you have your spiritual side of the balance sheet, all right? But when you're focusing on that, focus on the one thing. Don't let yourself get distracted. And within the different venues of personal side of the balance sheet, business side of the balance sheet, spiritual side of the balance sheet, it's best to focus on one element within each sphere. And that way you will be able to achieve more. Distractions do not allow you to get to where you want to go. It's as simple as that. Jack of all trades, master of none. Here's an interesting one. When we first got married, we made a pact. It was this. In our life together, it was decided I would make all the big decisions and my wife would make all the little decisions. For 50 years, we've held true to that agreement. I believe that that is the reason for the success in our marriage. However, the strange thing is that in 50 years, there hasn't been one big decision. Eli, this one's for you. When you get married, when you have your relationship, you're going to live in the house, but it ain't your house. There are certain elements of life that are predetermined to belong to the spouse. Don't fight it. Let it go. It'll make you happier. One should not pursue goals that are easily achieved. One must develop an instinct for what one can just barely achieve through one's greatest efforts. This is one of the things we've talked about. Every day, people need to have a specific goal, a specific target, and when you do that, that target has to just be a little bit out of the reach of your grasp. Just a little bit. And that's how you get into your flow state, by the way. All right, so, if it's every single thing you do is easily achievable, you're not really achieving anything. You need to challenge yourself, and then at the end of the day, you're feeling better about yourself, you're achieving more. You can't make your goal for the day something that's impossible. Like Eli, you're not going to go up and touch the top of the backboard today. That's not going to happen. It's got to be something that you can see, something that's just a little bit out of your grasp. All right, so at one time, maybe that was touching the net. The next time, maybe it was touching the backboard. The next time, maybe it was touching the rim. Somewhere down the road, maybe it's going to be dunking the basketball. My point is, make the things just a little bit out of your reach, and that's how you become a great achiever, and do that every single day. Too many of us look upon Americans as dollar chasers. Remember, this is Einstein talking. This is a cruel libel, even if it is reiterated thoughtlessly by the Americans themselves. Wow. All right? I'd like to think that we are not completely money motivated on every single issue of life, although it may appear that we are trying to get an economy going when we, in the midst of a pandemic, we're trying to get elected and having huge crowds at a rally, but I digress. The point is, we need to prioritize which are the most important things. I like to think that we do that, even though we as Americans are very dollar conscious at virtually all times. Something to think about. Life is sacred. That is to say, it is the supreme value to which all other values are subordinate. Well, that's the same thing I just said. In the scheme of things, we need to work together. We need to find a way to make sure that people have food on their table, that they're living, that they're healthy. But the first thing we have to make sure is that there is life. That is the first thing that should be at the top of the totem pole. And finally, I'm going to end this with a great quote from Einstein that I want you to do some thinking about. I'm going to leave you hanging here a little bit. There are two important things for full success in life. Number one, don't tell everything you know. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's all get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.